Let's get right into this recap about an unsettling 2019 horror film, Midsummer. The place is Sweden in summer. And pretty quickly, we dive into some very unsettling, cult-like behavior. Danny used to be the kind of person who held all her emotions in. Her panic, fear, even her sadness. But when tragedy struck, Danny changed. Sometimes, when the people closest to you won't hold you, you start searching for someone or something that will, even if it comes dressed in white robes and flower crowns. And healing doesn't always look peaceful. Sometimes it looks like fire. Danny was struggling to hold herself together. Her sister had sent her a disturbing message, something that sounded like a final goodbye. Even though everyone else told her not to worry, Danny had a feeling in her gut that something was wrong. Well, she was right. That night, her sister took her own life and their parents' lives too. She sealed off the house, left the car running in the garage, and fed carbon monoxide through tubes in all 3 rooms. By the time anyone realized what had happened, her entire family was gone, and Danny was completely shattered. The only person she had left was her boyfriend, Christian, but even he wasn't really there for her. Not emotionally, not in the way she needed. Christian had already been thinking about breaking up with her before it happened, but after the tragedy, he felt too guilty to leave. He started fading out of the relationship. He grew quieter, colder, and more disconnected than ever. At the same time, Christian had been planning a trip with his friends, a summer research visit to a remote village in Sweden, invited by their Swedish friend, Pella. When Danny found out about the trip, Christian awkwardly invited her, never expecting her to actually come. But she said yes, because deep down, she just couldn't bear to be alone. Several months later, Danny joined Christian and his friends, Mark and Josh, on the trip. They traveled to the rural Hälsingland region of Sweden, to a commune called the Hurga. The festival they were attending occurred only once every 90 years and was considered by Josh, who was working on his thesis on European midsummer traditions, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They arrived at the Hurga during the summer solstice, a time when the sun never truly set. The village didn't look threatening at all. It looked like something out of a dream. Endless daylight, white clothes, music, flowers, and warm, smiling faces. This was the community where Pella had grown up. The people here had their own customs, their cycles, and their rituals. At first, everything just seemed a little strange. Soon after arriving, Ingemar, Pella's commune brother, offered the group psychedelic mushrooms. Danny experienced a bad trip, hallucinating about her dead family and spiraling into anxiety. The next day, the group witnessed the rare ritual. 2 elders stood calmly on top of a cliff, holding hands. Then, without a word, they jumped. One of them died on impact. The other survived the fall, but lay broken and screaming. Before anyone could move, a villager stepped forward and ended the elder's suffering with a giant hammer. The outsiders were horrified, but the villagers began to cheer. This wasn't a tragedy to them. This was a sacred cycle, a celebration of life and death. Commune member Siv explained that every member of the Hurga willingly ends their life at age 72, considering it a great honor. Danny wanted to leave, but Christian dismissed her feelings. He offered her no comfort and made no effort to protect her. Instead, he continued to grow apart from her, more focused on his thesis and preoccupied with trying to outdo his friend Josh by writing about the rituals of the Hurga. Meanwhile, Pella paid close attention to her. He took the time to speak with her, not just about the unsettling events they had witnessed, but also about how she was feeling on a deeper, emotional level. He shared that he, too, had experienced the loss of his family in a fire, and he expressed a quiet understanding of the pain she carried. He asked her whether she felt emotionally supported, and truly seen by those around her. Dani did not respond with words, but her expression revealed everything. Her sorrow and loneliness were impossible to hide. Meanwhile, tensions in the group grew. Connie and Simon, a British couple who had also been invited by Ingmar, were disturbed by the rituals and demanded to leave. Connie was told that Simon had already been driven to the train station, and they would return for her soon. Despite her protests, she was also taken away. Dani later claimed to have seen Simon being dragged, bloodied, through the woods, but no one took it seriously. As the days passed, members of their group began to disappear without explanation. Mark was the first to go missing after he urinated on a sacred ancestral tree. He was lured away by a female member of the commune. Not long after, Josh vanished, following an attempt to secretly photograph the villagers' forbidden scriptures. He was caught and killed by someone wearing Mark's skinned face. No one raised an alarm. There were no searches, no questions. The villagers simply carried on with their rituals, smiling as if everything was completely normal. Christian stayed distant from Dani. He was too focused on his own research and became interested in the commune's idea of using outsiders to have children, so their families wouldn't become too closely related. Eventually, the villagers gave him and Dani a hallucinogenic tea that left them both dazed. Christian was led into a fertility ritual with a redhead girl named Maya. Drugged and confused, he was forced into having sex with her, while a circle of chanting, humming women stood around them, mimicking Maya's moans. Dani discovered what was happening. She saw it all, and that was the breaking point. Everything she had buried came rushing out. She screamed, she sobbed, she collapsed under the weight of everything she had been carrying. But instead of silence, something unexpected happened. The women of the village surrounded her. They didn't try to stop her crying. They cried with her. They matched her breath for breath, sob for sob, as though they were sharing her pain. For the first time in years, Dani wasn't crying alone. Afterward, a naked Christian wandered the commune in a daze. He discovered Josh's severed leg planted in a flower bed, and Simon's mutilated body displayed in a barn, his lungs pulled outward in a blood eagle. Before he could react, an elder blew a powder into his face, paralyzing him. Dani, on the other hand, won a maypole competition and became the May Queen. Then came the final ritual. The Midsummer ceremony required 9 sacrifices, 4 outsiders, 4 villagers, and 1 final soul chosen by the May Queen. Dani wore the crown of flowers, and she also won their trust, and maybe even their love. Now, it was her decision to make. The 9th and final sacrifice would either be a volunteer from the Hurga or Christian. At that moment, something shifted inside her. She did not think twice. She chose Christian. Christian, now completely paralyzed, was sewn into the hollowed body of a bear and placed inside a wooden temple alongside the other sacrifices. As the commune prayed, the temple was set in flames. The flames rose, and the villagers mimicked the screams of the dying. Dani stood outside, watching. At first, her face trembled, caught between grief and horror. She could barely breathe. She did not know whether to cry or to laugh. And then, she smiled. Not out of joy, not out of spite, but with the quiet relief of someone who had been forgotten for too long, finally choosing herself. Midsummer is not just a superbly creepy horror film. It is about grief. It is about losing your family, your identity, and your place in the world. It is about being invisible in your own relationship and finally being seen, even if it is by people who wear flower crowns and burn their dead. Dani did not become a monster. She became free. And sometimes freedom comes with a smile, surrounded by flowers, while everything you used to know burns to the ground. So, if you were Dani, surrounded by flowers and fire, Would you smile too? Comment your thoughts below. If this story grabbed you, hit subscribe and check out our other deep dives. You won't want to miss what's coming next.